model all the time, again and again, the sagittal face model. And what do you need to know from this? Well, anyone know what this space is up here? Frontal sinus. Anyone know what that is back there? Sphenoid sinus, good. This, of course, is the nasal cavity on the inside. Now, what they don't really show you on this model, like if this is the right nasal cavity, you would then have a divider called the nasal septum, and then you have the left nasal cavity. This model does show you these guys. What are these three guys? Those are the conchae, or you can also call them the turbinates. Those are the ones that swirl the air around when you breathe in through your nose. So this is the superior conchae, the middle conchae, and the inferior conchae. Other things that you should know, the hole over here, this is your nostril, or a better name for it is your anterior nares or your external nares. Okay? Whereas this back here, this kind of imaginary line that runs like here, that's the divider between your nasal cavity, which is here, and your oropharynx, your nasopharynx, which is back here. All right, so that's your nasal cavity. This is your nasopharynx. That imaginary line is known as the posterior nares or the internal nares. Okay. So that was pretty much it. Oh, other things to show you on the sagittal face, guys. Some of these things you already know. What's this thing? That's your adenoid or your pharyngeal tonsil. What's this thing? Palatine tonsil. And what's this? That's your lingual tonsil. Good. So let me go through the different parts then. So, sorry. Okay. So running from here all the way down to the tip of the uvula, that's the nasopharynx. When you run from the tip of the uvula down to the tip of the epiglottis, what's this part called? That's the oropharynx. And then when you run from the tip of the epiglottis down to where the esophagus begins, what's that? The laryngopharynx. Okay? So those are the three parts of the pharynx. Anyone know what this little white thing is right there? It's in your neck. It's a bone.
Hyoid?
That's your hyoid bone. All right? That's the one that when you strangle someone, usually 2/3 of the time you'll break it. So you're going to want to practice on some people so that you make sure you don't break it, so they don't trace it to you. Anyway, what else? Okay. Oh, other things you can see on here. This down here, all of these light blue things are pieces of cartilage. They're all part of the larynx. What is this little guy right here? That's the epiglottis. This big guy here is actually your thyroid cartilage. And this guy and that guy represent part of your cricoid cartilage. Let's see that on there. Going back down through here, that's going to be the esophagus. And then down here, you're going to be into the trachea at that point. That's the sagittal face model. Let me shift to a different larynx model. So here's another larynx model. It's a little bit shiny. Hold on a second. Whoops. This button is never seen. All right, good enough. Anyway, what's this big piece of cartilage right here? The one you can feel, your Adam's apple. Just mentioned it. What's the biggest piece? What's this gland right here? Thyroid. This is the thyroid cartilage then, this big guy. The guy below it is the cricoid cartilage. Okay. Then in between them, you have this space between them is the cricothyroid ligament. Okay. That's the spot where you, in an emergency situation, you could puncture a needle through the skin and put in, like, I don't know, I guess a pen, ballpoint pen, and actually get an airway on someone if they had a blockage higher up in their respiratory system. What else? What's that? Just this area right in there. Okay. That's the cricothyroid ligament. Other things that you see, this ligament up here, this is the hyoid bone up here. So this is the thyrohyoid ligament up there that connects those two things together. Some other cartilage that you see, you got to kind of spin around to the back. Actually, I'll show you a different model that shows you the cartilage a little bit better. If you look down inside, this would be the epiglottis up here. That's what's going to flop backwards. That's the glottis down there on the inside. The things in white that you see are the true vocal cords. Just above them are the false vocal cords, but I'm going to open this up so you can see this a little bit better. I can. Sorry, get enough protein. So here we go. So I don't know if you can see it really well, but there's a little fold right up here on top. That's a false vocal cord. It lies superior to your actual true vocal cord, which is right there. Okay. Again, on this sideways view, this would be the epiglottis. This guy up here would be the thyroid cartilage. This down here would be the cricoid, and that would also be the cricoid cartilage. Let me show you the big larynx model, because the big larynx model shows you just the cartilage and removes the other stuff. So here's the big larynx model. You saw this one before or not. So this guy at the top, of course, is the hyoid bone. This big guy is the this is the thyroid cartilage. The one down here is the cricoid cartilage. And then if you spin it around to the back side, this is also cricoid cartilage. The cricoid cartilage is kind of small in front, but then it gets bigger when it goes to the back. These little things that are on top that are falling off, these are the arytenoid cartilages that are right there. Okay? These guys actually form a little joint with the cricoid cartilage, and muscles pull on them. And this is an old model, so it doesn't work so well. But when the muscles pull on them, these guys pull and stretch the vocal cords, which allows you to speak, basically. Okay? So those are there. On the tips of the arytenoid cartilage, they kind of drew them on here, but these little tips, that's actually a separate piece of cartilage. That's called the corniculate cartilage. It sits on the tip there. There's another type of cartilage called the cuneiform cartilage, but you can't really see it, and you don't have to worry about it. And this guy, of course, is the epiglottis. That's what's going to flop backward and cover everything when you swallow. Okay. So that's that model. Let's see here. Respiratory tree. Here's a respiratory tree model. This is the trachea, of course. The dividing area right here, if you looked on the inside, you'd see this little ridge. That's called the carina. And if you go this way or that way, those are your primary bronchi. This one's going to go to the right lung. This one's going to go to the left lung. Those are the primary bronchi. These ones then are the secondary bronchi, and they're going to go to each of the lobes. And then the ones that are colored here are the tertiary bronchi that are going to go to the different segments. All right? So this is the right primary bronchi, left primary bronchi. On the right side of the lung, you have 3 lobes. So this is a right secondary bronchi, that's another one, and that's another one. And then these colored things are the segmental bronchi. Over on the left side, here's your primary bronchi. You only have 2 lobes on the left side. So this is the secondary bronchi, that's the secondary bronchi, and then once again, the colored ones are the tertiary bronchi. All right, lung